Hello, various voracious viewers, and thank you for clicking on this video, because in doing so, you will be able to fulfill your duty as part of the American electorate in becoming a well-informed citizen, something I hear is rather important in this era. I have recently been watching The Newsroom, which is the absolute epitome of good television, and I will die on this hill, so fair warning, this video might have a lot of big words like concurrently in it, which I do not apologize for in the slightest, and even enjoy the fact that I will be able to present you with this experience of vocal pencil pushing. Now, I am but a semi-humble, semi-18-year-old, but I now have the explicit ability to change things about this country by voting, and by the grace of God, I intend to. However, I must first alert people to the problems that I believe need fixing, such as some things. Like things that might very well come up in a few minutes or so. This is the wonderful, all-joyous, beloved-by-all intersection of Prospect Road and Lawrence Expressway in sunny San Jose, California, the road that I traverse on my way to and from school 5 days a week, know like the back of my hand, and as you can probably guess by the title of this video, profoundly dislike. Why do I dislike it so? 100% of you are or are not asking. The short answer is the entirely unfailable response of, it's bad, and I don't like it. And the long answer is this video. I like to declare to myself, when I'm alone, that this intersection is my mortal enemy, my nemesis, if you will, and I think that I am very much justified in this decision, because A, goodness knows how the social public would react if I started declaring villain arc-like dislike for inanimate pieces of road infrastructure, but also B, because this infrastructure is really badly designed. I don't know exactly when this intersection was built, but I can make several inferences as to its date of construction. For example, it contains concrete, so it was built sometime after 1200 BCE. It contains painted road lines, so it was built sometime after 1920, and I'm talking about it now, which means it was created sometime before the current date of November 3rd, 2025, the date that I am filming this video. The intersection of Prospect and Lawrence resides in the western portion of San Jose, a portion that is mostly suburbs that were created sometime around the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. All of this means that this intersection, and by extension Prospect Road and Lawrence Expressway, was designed by the amazingly auto-mad minds of that era, and thus, if you are not traveling via this single automotive method, all of the infrastructure that you will be using is rather an afterthought. Take it from me, if you haven't used this fascinating relic. Infrastructure for everything but the car is an afterthought. And I'm going to explain why. This is the intersection on Google Maps, which is basically the intersection in real life when viewed from above, unless there actually is an internet connection. From this image, there is already something very, very wrong with this intersection. These are slip lanes. Wikipedia describes them as, quote, a road at a junction that allows road users to change roads without actually entering an intersection, unquote. They are very common in here, United States, and you probably use them a lot without thinking about them that much. Slip lanes are very, very bad. Basically, in fulfilling their purpose, which was to make cars move faster through an intersection, or technically around an intersection, they make it very dangerous and hostile for pedestrians to use that same intersection. Typically, when using a slip lane, drivers' attentions are directed at the stream of traffic that they will be entering. However, in doing this, they can miss people or bikes that are trying to cross the slip lane to the pedestrian island, which is this red section here, via this crosswalk. To be clear, I am not extrapolating or making this up. I can attest to this. I have to cross this slip lane to get to school every single day, and drivers routinely blast through it at about 20 miles an hour, which is very fast compared to humans, and exceptionally fast when the drivers are heading right for you. By California law, drivers are required to yield to pedestrians within the crosswalk. However, this doesn't really do you much good if you haven't entered the crosswalk yet, or if they simply haven't seen you because the drivers are looking over their left shoulder at the stream of traffic coming from the left that they will be entering, instead of looking to the right at a pedestrian coming this way onto the crosswalk, which I experience every day, every weekday. In addition to this, these slip lanes are some of the less well-designed ones. In regards to the southeast corner, if you are crossing from the corner to the island, you are cooked. You're cooked. Don't even try. Pray to whatever deity that you believe in is the best advice that I can give you, because nothing else is going to help you except a giant periscope. All you can see is a fence, and then, again, literal 50-mile-an-hour traffic. You can only see a car if it's about a second or two away from hitting you, which, again, is not optimal. No one even goes 50 miles an hour here. Drivers go about 5 or 10 miles an hour faster. Anyway, tempted to put in a bit from sociology so that I can impress my sociology teacher, because the speed limit is the ideal culture, but the 5 or 10 miles above the speed limit is the real culture, and also the range of tolerance that cops have in regards to speeding, because no one's going to arrest you if you're going 2 miles above the speed limit, but someone is going to arrest you if you're going 20 miles an hour, or say 300 miles an hour over the speed limit, which I certainly hope never happens, but probably has, considering this crazy world that we live in. Slip lanes are terrible for pedestrians, and they only really exist so that drivers can save a few seconds. This intersection is primarily traversed by students on their way to school. Forgive me if this is controversial, but I think we should be paying a little more care to the health and safety of the kids of the next generation, and I also think that I shouldn't have to navigate an expressway where my life is increasingly endangered because some traffic engineer from the crack-smoking 70s decided that a 1-minute decrease in commute times for automotive drivers was more important than the safety of the hundreds of pedestrians that use this intersection every day. Additionally, this intersection shares a lot of attributes, an impressive amount, really, with the most dangerous intersections in the city of San Jose, namely high traffic volume, because it is an expressway, complex design, which is this lane turns into a turn lane in a very short amount of time. I myself have had to navigate this. It's rather stressful, considering that Prospect Road in this area is very high trafficked because of all the drivers trying to get to this shopping center on the right here. Large speed differentials in that Lawrence Expressway is a 50-mile-an-hour road, as I mentioned, routinely faster than that, 5 or 10 miles an hour above, versus the 35-mile-an-hour speed limit of Prospect Road. Poor visibility because of this curve, and the slip lanes that I have mentioned earlier, and pedestrian and cyclist interactions, because this intersection experiences a huge amount of pedestrian traffic every day. I should probably explain this curve a little more. This is the curve between Saratoga Avenue and Prospect Road on Lawrence Expressway in the northbound direction. It is restricting in view because on the right side of you there is a shopping center with a lot of trees, and it makes it so that when you come around the corner you're immediately faced with a traffic signal, and that's kind of dangerous because at that point you only have about 4 seconds to correct any actions that you may need to in order to slow or stop for a red light. And if you're not looking right ahead, for example, if you're distracted by whatever of the hundreds of distractions that you can possibly experience as a driver, you could very easily plow through that intersection or plow into a car stopped at that intersection. Unfortunately, a majority of these problems aren't really fixable unless you destroy this bit of Lawrence Expressway, which, to be clear, is an option that I wholeheartedly support, but it's not an option as far as I am aware. However, there are a few solutions that I've come up with, and I'll get to them in a few moments. And to your surprise or not surprise, there are even more problems with this intersection. Namely, that it does not adequately meet the needs of its users. Prospect is a cool school because about 1/10 of the student population, roughly and hypothetically, bike to school, which is far higher than the national average of people who bike to work, if correct. However, biking to school from the east is rather difficult because of this intersection, which is very delay-inducing, far away, and very, very hard for bicycles to use, because just trust me on this one, okay? I've used it for 4 years, okay? Trust me. This is all coming from a primary source, which is... That's why most kids on bikes get to school by taking this path. The only problem is that it involves riding down the wrong way of Prospect Road. However, it does save you a good amount of time. And admittedly, this is rather important if you're running a little late to school. To be clear, I do not endorse this action. I'm merely pointing out the reasons that people take this action. Also, Lawrence Expressway is a literal highway next to a literal high school. Those two don't mix. This is not how we should be designing cities. Climate change is getting worse by the day. The United States is the second most polluting country in the world behind only China, and China houses 20% of the world's population. Part of Los Angeles literally burned to the ground last year. Transportation produces 20% of the USA's emissions, and regardless of what the governor of Alaska says on that subject, we need to cut down on that number. Electric cars are not going to save us. Self-driving cars and flying taxis and the bloody boring company are not going to save us. What we need is high-quality alternatives to driving, and I think that giving kids a high-quality way to get to school by bus or bicycle or by their own 2 feet as God and evolution intended would not only do wonders for the climate, but also for the students themselves. It gives them autonomy, it saves parents time, it gives them exercise, and bicycle customizations are a thing, which looks sick, to be absolutely clear. Bikes are literally the best, and I can attest because I own one, and I've seen other people own them, and they're great. Also, tandem bicycles are sick, and if we started having more people use those, I would be all for it. That's my tangent of the day. Also, buses. A lot of students ride the VTA bus to Prospect, specifically the 56. And currently, that bus just gets stuck in traffic behind a bunch of cars with 1.4 people each and a motor apiece. And we need to account for these people, because we currently aren't. However, far from me to be doom and gloom, I'm a relentless optimist, as many people that know me can or cannot attest to. This is an easy problem to solve, and I know because we have solved this. Because all we need to do is look at downtown San Jose, or if you want to be insane, the entirety of the Netherlands. Also, you don't even need to worry about solving it, because I have. I, with absolutely no pay and no particular reason other than that I like doing this stuff, have, using nothing but Google Maps and Google Slides, completely redesigned this intersection for the good of humanity. This is what I have created. I will explain it now. This road occupying the theoretical y-axis is Lawrence Expressway. The road on the x-axis is Prospect Road. Green is bike lanes, orange is crosswalks. Red is a bus lane, blue dashed lines are road markings, and yellow are the same as the yellow lines in the center of roads, which mean basically don't cross this point. These trapezoids are slopes in sidewalks to get down to the level of roadways common in neighborhoods. Here is an example of one. These salmon lines are lines cars must stop behind at red lights. These black circles are traffic detection loops. These poles and lines are traffic lights. White is sidewalk concrete, black is standard pavement, and these green blobs are gardens. These purple or pink lines, I'm not entirely sure, are the lanes that cars follow when they turn. This is what I have created interposed on a picture of the current layout of Prospect and Lawrence. All traffic movements are signalized. Right turns on red are prohibited on all corners except the northeast one with the bus lane. Buses will use this turning lane to continue straight, so we can't have it getting clogged up. Instead, we will use a no-turn signal that will turn on right before the pedestrian signal in this direction is turned on. This will allow for a leading pedestrian effect, where pedestrians will be able to enter the intersection before cars do. This makes them much more visible and safer. The no turn signal, or turn off a few seconds after the pedestrian signal, is turned on, so cars can turn if they are able. This will make sure that the turn lane is free of cars so that buses can continue straight. This is the only right turn that does not have a dedicated lane. All the others have dedicated lanes with large amounts of queuing space for cars. This allows them to be signalized without fear of them backing up into the roadway. People turning either left or right onto or off of Lawrence Expressway will get a green light at the same time because their paths do not intersect. Cars turning onto and off of Prospect will also go at the same time. Cars turning left or right onto or off of Prospect will also go. Cars turning right or left onto or off of Prospect will also go at the same time because their paths do not intersect. All modes going straight in the same or parallel directions will go at the same time. This little section is open for emergency vehicles should they need it. No other vehicles will be allowed to use this bit of roadway. I have made all of the turns as accommodating as possible for larger trucks and semis. Bikes can go in either direction anyway across the intersection. To make biking to school easier, I have created a two-way bike path to the closest school parking lot entrance. I have widened sidewalks wherever possible to accommodate the throngs of people using the sidewalks before and after school. The entire intersection should be ADA compliant if I have done it right. All traffic poles will need to be replaced. To save money, because traffic lights are very expensive as it turns out, I have made it so that bikes can rely on pedestrian walk/don't walk signals. On this traffic pole on the southwest corner, a traffic light for the northbound direction will be mounted. This will allow cars coming around the bend to see what their light is before they are right on top of it. This frontage road will be closed for this section of it. It is used rather frequently, but all of the apartments along it have other ways of accessing their parking. Emergency vehicles are accounted for. They can use the bus lane if necessary, or just park in the bike lane if it's really that much of an emergency. There are detection loops everywhere that they are needed. I have highlighted roadway sections in lighter color to show them, because they're black and pavement is also black. Caltrans requires bike and car detection loops for all lanes, but since there is such a robust bike infrastructure, I think we might be able to get them to remove this requirement for this particular intersection. These entrances will remain open. This section of school property will need to be ceded to the city to expand this sidewalk. None of it is being used except for this bit, and this can be modified rather easily without sacrificing anything. While this looks like a lot, I am fairly certain that it really isn't. This is what we actually need to do in terms of concrete and asphalt. Black and white and yellow are new, everything else can stay as it is, minus the paint removal and restriping. Traffic lights are the real thing that I'm worried about, because paint doesn't cost that much. I think this option works tremendously well, because it is designed by someone who has used this intersection constantly and knows its flaws and specific needs. It also greatly increases the infrastructure dedicated to bikes and buses and people, so cars don't reign as supreme, like they currently do. It eliminates all slip lanes and makes right turn corners much sharper, which increases safety because drivers must be more alert while using them. It also, unimportantly, looks super cool and futuristic. Because solar punk, baby! Don't get mad at me, Alan Fisher. I like your videos. The other alternative is to just put Lawrence in a trench until the intersection's directly north or south. This would solve all problems, but it is also significantly more expensive because of the earthworks. And there is also not that much space available for on and off ramps. If Santa Clara County, who manages this road, would allow Lawrence to be narrowed to 2 lanes 500 feet before and after this intersection, this would be much easier. Also, if we do this, I must mandate that the bridge be significantly wider than Prospect Road is to allow for some deadening of the immense noise that Lawrence would generate in an echoey tunnel. Here's an example of something like this being done in Colorado. Now, to be clear, I am aware that money is a constraint. Road projects are expensive. All infrastructure is expensive. San Jose is not exactly a city overflowing with cash. Santa Clara just lost $1 billion annually for the next 3 years due to the current presidential administration. However, I think that this is a worthwhile investment. This stuff is important. Safety is important. The future of school children is important. And avoiding traffic is very important. Decreasing our dependence on cars is very important, especially in this day and age, due to the aforementioned climate disaster. And decreasing our carbon emissions is very important, especially in this age, due to the aforementioned climate disaster. This is why I think you should dislike this intersection and want to improve it. Look, I know that I am only 18 years old. However, I still think that you should listen to me. If I have successfully convinced you to agree with my position, I think that you should do something about it, like I am. One of the ways to do this is to contact City Council member Rosemary Kamei. She is the District Council member for San Jose District 1, the district that encompasses this intersection. You could contact Susan Ellenberg of Santa Clara County District 4, or Margaret Abe Koga of District 5. Apologies if I pronounced your name wrong. The intersection of Prospect and Lawrence resides in both of these districts. All you have to do is shoot them an email. TLDR, just stick a link to this video in it, because that'll make it a lot simpler, and you won't have to explain anything, unless you want to explain it, in which case, all the more power to you. I must stress to you, please be kind. Policymakers at a local level are often very dedicated to their work and honestly want the best for you. I think hating politicians has become normalized because of a certain few figureheads in the big house up on the hill, if you know what I mean. If you contact these council members, please pay them your respects, because they deserve your respect. If nothing else, please advocate for what you believe and actually show up at local elections, because very, very few people do. I have recently found out that actually doing something instead of just complaining about it to your friends will sometimes result in good, positive change. Sometimes very good and very positive, very far-reaching change. Just remember that. And to any people over the age of 50 that are still watching this video, look at this. A young person is actually doing something politically. I am single-handedly increasing the amount of political engagement put forward by Gen Z. Take that, my AP Gov textbook. Well, I hope you enjoyed my broadcast this evening. That's all I got. You don't have to do anything I suggested, but I recommend it. Just think about it. Put your 2 cents in the policymaking machine, because it's your country too. Have a good one all, and thank you for watching.